Sanzuo machine is a straight stitch walking foot machine. We're going to start by threading the machine. I use the knee lifter here to lift the presser foot, and I'll unthread the machine. Starting from scratch, get a clean end. We go through from back to front, around and back to front again. We now go through from right to left, around the front and right to left again. Make sure the thread is between the two discs and down through the guide. Straight between these two discs of the tension unit. When the knee is operated to lift the presser foot, it also opens these discs. Make it easier to make sure the thread goes in there. We now go around the check spring under the guide and check that that check spring is operating. Behind the guide on the right, I'll just use my knee to take the pressure off the plate again. Through the take up lever from right to left. Through the guide on the left, and from left to right behind this opening guide here. Clicks into there. Again, I'll operate the knee so I can pull on that thread through the guide above the needle from front to back. Needle from left to right. On this picture, you can see that the needle is inserted so that the scarf, which is the groove on the needle, pointing to it on the needle here, is to the right, and the thread goes from left to right. Now, I reach underneath the table to grab the bobbin case. This can be opened to help you see that. Reaching underneath, and I've grabbed the bobbin case by this finger. When that's held in your fingers, the bobbin won't fall out for inserting it and removing it. Now, if we suspect that that bobbin has run out, we'll now take an empty bobbin. We take our new bobbin from the bobbin winder here. We wind the thread onto our empty bobbin. I usually just wind it round and round about 4 or 5 times. Make sure that's pushed in. Snip that off and push it in so that this little guide falls in behind it. What we might need to do is just hold that when it starts winding, once we start sewing again, just to make sure that catches. Now the new bobbin goes in so that it pulls back into the slot. So it actually is folding the thread around the corner. So it unwinds into the slot under the tension spring and up, and a tension check basically should have approximately the weight of the bobbin case. Won't slide down, but it's just about the weight of that bobbin case, just firm without being too tight. Once again, I grab the thread and the finger, that way the bobbin won't fall out, and I insert that underneath from left to right. Just check that that's in firm and it's not going to fall out. To pick up the thread, I hold the top thread up, turn the machine manually 1 revolution. So 1 full revolution until the needle has come up and over. That's pulled up the bottom thread. Again, I use my knee lifter to lift up the presser foot, and I pull both threads down and under the foot and hold them firmly to the back. When we start sewing, it is critical that we hold these threads firmly back. When we start sewing, and each time we sew, we use our reverse lever here to do a few forward and reverse. So I would go 2 or 3 forwards, 2 or 3 backwards, and then start sewing. When I heel back on the pedal underneath the stand here, it will lift the needle up. So every time I stop, the needle stops, needle down, heel back, needle is lifted, knee to lift the foot, draw out enough thread and cut close to your sample or your product, leaving those tails ready for the next time. To wind the bobbin, I won't redo it, but just pointing here. I've drawn on the top of the machine, basically comes through from left to right through the first hole. Make sure the thread is in between the two discs. From right to left, around, and from right to left again, and then wind it on. Now if we need to wind a bobbin and we don't have any material sewing, we need to unthread this back to here so it doesn't get tangled, so it's not within anything that's moving. Just make sure we hold this nice and tight while we start this winding. Once that bites on like this, I'm just going to lift the presser foot, so it's not rubbing. And once this catches on, just try and tie the little end in, and then that bobbin will wind while we're sewing. So that will be ready when the next bobbin is empty. Drop the foot down, and of course I'll rethread it now.